Are you too busy, too stressed out, unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Hello and welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, the show that provides the best inner tools and strategies helping you break free of habits and patterns keeping you stuck, even with the busiest schedules. I'm just so excited and I'm just kind of bummed at the same time because I've been enjoying my conversations with Cheryl. This is the last episode, episode 3, where we'll be talking about relaxing the brain and exercising the body, how we both get it in. How do you quiet your mind from the day and all those things you think about, that creative mind of yours? How do you quiet it down so you can...
Farmville. Have you ever heard of Farmville?
No. What is
Farmville is a little game. It's a mobile game by Zynga. Zynga is a company that just went public last year, and Zynga has multiple games out there that, they've been able to go public because they have in-app purchases. But, even if you don't do the in-app purchases, for me, going back to my roots as a child growing up, I was a city girl. But my mom and my dad and my grandparents would take me to the farm down in Forest City, Arkansas. And that's where I got my very, very first pet besides turtle and fish. You can't stroke a fish. You can only paint the paint. But my real intimate pet was a chicken. And that chicken came from the farm. And I get a lot of inspiration from looking at what God has created. And so Farmville actually takes me back, and it helps to relax my mind, before I go to sleep or something like that. Sometimes I get to play it maybe once or twice during the week. I'm not always on it like I used to be. But, the fact that you understand seed time and harvest, which is a biblical concept, seed time and harvest. There is a time when you're planting. And if you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 3 or 4, there is a time for everything under the sun. A time to born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up, a time to love and to cry, a time for sorrow and for joy. And then there are other specific things in that chapter. But when I take a look at Farmville, it's a whole lot more than just a game, but it allows me to, milk the cows and collect the milk to make butter. It allows me to harvest the wheat that I use to bundle up as hay to feed the cows. Or it allows me to collect eggs that I might use to create cheese or other things, where eggs are used for baking. Now, I don't spend any time in the kitchen. And that was just a prenuptial agreement that I, make a joke with Clifford. I say, stay out the kitchen, I'll do the cooking. And I'm happy with that. Mm-hmm. He says, I can't cook. I'm happy with that. I can when I want to. Mm-hmm. But, that's something that, together we choose that he's the better cook of the family. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But Farmville allows me, I reflect on biblical concepts when I play this game. And so it's not something that I have to think. I just have to do. But it allows me to reflect on, some of the simpler forms of life that, sometimes in the big city, Diane, we grow accustomed to having to go here, having to go there, having to do this, having to do that. It's so busy. Whereas on a farm, you're planting and you're harvesting and you're selling and you're buying. You're giving and you're receiving. Those basic, how can I say, life principles that sometimes we lose in the busyness of our day. That little game where it may just be a little game for somebody else means a whole lot more to me, and it allows me to calm my mind down. And then, you know, there are other times when I might just binge on, like, I've been watching a Netflix, it's not a Netflix series. Actually, it was on national television, and I missed it, and now it's on Netflix, called Helix, Helix. And then there is another one called Zoo. And so I might binge on those, but when I'm looking at those, I'm looking for specific principles that I can apply to my life. Even Fringe, Fringe, was another one of those multi-year serials that came on that I missed it in the middle. I came in the middle, and I'm like, I got to start at the very beginning. And it allowed me to see different life principles in those that I might be able to apply, you know, to myself or to the people that I interface with. So that's what I do to kind of calm down.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's weird, isn't it? Kind of weird.
Well, the mind needs to calm down. I mean, we all need to stop at some point.
Yeah.
To just stop and let go of everything. Just for a few minutes. It has to be done, because we all know what happens when we keep going anyway. Yeah. We've all had the experience of what happens. And what happens is, you know, you forget, you're tired, you're stressed, and it could be a little bit more serious than that. I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, I've watched people over the years, successful, high-achieving people like you, like me, who, you know, if not careful, if not conscious, it's good to be that way, but you also have to have that balance, and I'm so happy you're sharing that with us today.
It's, you know, different. It depends on a person's lifestyle. Now, I could not do this if I were raising children. I have 3 cats, and really they feel like they're responsible for us. They're our parents, and we're at their beck and meow, you know?
Yeah.
But I do struggle, you know, with that, even with exercising, because I used to go to the gym, and I would spend 2 hours, and it was, you know, almost religious that I would have to get there. But at the risk of having multiple hospital stays after that, because I overdid it. And I kept things going, but, you know, I did like a 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. boot camp. And before I knew it, you know, I spent 2 almost consecutive stints in the cardiac unit, 7 days each. That's because I wore myself out, because it was too much. And so even now with exercising, I do squats in my bedroom. I do leg lifts, and I do extensions with my legs while I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth. It gives me something to do that, you know, keeps my mind occupied on counting and not thinking about the work day. And then I do like some presses against the wall, and since surgery, I haven't been able to do the routine that I had prior to this last surgery I had at the end of 2013. So some things have changed in my body and in my life that doesn't allow me to do everything that I used to do in the gym. But I promise you, at $41 a year, I keep my membership, because I know that someday I'm going to get to go back to that routine and be able to mix it in with everything else that I do. But for right now, you know, with exercising, I have my morning routine, and it takes me between 20 and 30 minutes to do every day. And that seems to be sufficient. I don't get my heart rate up as much as I'd like to, but I do a lot of walking throughout the day, which will compensate to a degree for that mobile activity that I need to have that keeps, you know, things lubricated, for lack of a better word, but, you know, keeps my body going. But I certainly, you know, if I had my druthers about it, I would be very happy to exercise, go back to the gym and do 2 hours a day, but my day won't allow me to do that because I have so many other things going on. So I can at least get it in without feeling like I have abused myself.
Okay.
And it helps to keep in my mind a little bit more balance of my work, my life, what happens and is important to me, what happens that will be important to my husband and the businesses as well as anybody else that, I have to interface with. So that's the good part for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, what about you, Diane? What do you do to calm down?
Well, I do meditation. I do Kundalini yoga now, where it's meditation and poses together, because with everything I have going on at this moment, I felt that it was really necessary that I take care of my mind as well, so that I have a lot coming in, and I wanted to make sure that I'm really filtering and taking care of my mind. And I tell you, that was a great decision because I love it.
That's wonderful.
And I just don't have a lot of stress in my life right now. When you're a mother, you're raising children, stress is just a part of life, and you have these jobs where that's stressful too. But I've been able to get my stress down to a minimum. Not to say that I never have it, but it's within perspective. If I have a project going on or a client, I may be a little stressed, but it's not that enduring stress that's harmful, where my heart's racing, my blood pressure's at a dangerous rate. It's the more subtle stress that's needed in daily life, and also for challenges, and also for good things, So I work at relaxing, renewing.
It's funny that you say that, because I've told a few people who have gone through maybe a bad relationship, and not that I can help in one way or the other, but the one thing that I do say is take your time and learn what you like and what you don't like, and learn to define yourself by yourself and not define who you are by who you're attached to.
That is the best lesson you can learn.
It's funny that you should say that, because, I think that often, but, I did that before God handmade this man for me. I figured out who I was, what I liked, a few hard knocks, a few lessons. I could probably write a book, because I've got all of the notes. I journaled everything that I learned in a particular relationship, and it numbered 365.
Well,
so I could even do a daily journal based on my learning experience.
Well, and that's beautiful that you learned, and they were lessons, and that you actually learned from them and you evolved from there, because that's what's important. I mean, we could probably all write a book on our bad relationships, or write a hymnal or something. We could.
Yeah.
But the wonderful thing, because you don't learn unless you have these experiences as to what supports you. I don't even think you learn how to really love yourself until you've had some bad experiences. You don't even know what's missing from that love until you. And I can share that with you, because what I discovered years ago is that I didn't even love myself. I didn't even know what that looked like. You know what I mean? And you learn this through experiences.
Wow.
And there's nothing.
And you were gorgeous then, and you're gorgeous now. How could you not love yourself?
Well, it wasn't the authentic love of myself. We learn love from what's modeled to us, right? from what's presented to us. So what I should say is I didn't understand the authentic love. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. That's what I should say. And that's just not something you get from having a relationship, That I'm not talking about that kind of love. Yes. So that part was missing. That was something I didn't get till I was older in terms of understanding what that really meant.
Wow.
I want to thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. I want to thank Cheryl Morgan Young for being here as well. She's provided us a lot of energizing information about her life, how she keeps her life balanced, her businesses, and all the things that she does as a busy professional in the world. So Cheryl, thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for also being here and taking time out to listen to the 3 episodes of Conversations with Cheryl. And if you didn't hear the first 2, I think you want to go back and check them out. In the first episode, there's some real talking about fitting in work-life balance. And in episode 2, we're talking about what inspires us. I'm talking about my experiences as a working single mom. And we're also diving into a conversation about planning for retirement. So you don't want to miss this. And this is the 3rd of the last episode of Conversations with Cheryl on Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. And I just want to thank you guys for listening, but I also want to know what you thought about the show. And if you found something of value from this episode, I want you to find 2 people to share this information with or to share this podcast with. I want you to take their phones, show them how to subscribe either on their phones, their computers, their iPad, whatever digital device that they may have. Show them how to subscribe to the podcast page. And if you don't have a device, you can also subscribe on my podcast page at Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. There's a list on the right side of the page of subscription providers. So there's multiple ways you can hear us. So please subscribe. You can also leave a voicemail or a comment on the Balanced Living for Busy Professionals podcast page or send me an email. I want to know what you think about the show. I want you to be a part of this community. I also want to know what you want. What do you want me to talk about? What kind of webinars? What kind of information do you want? Oh, and that reminds me, there's a Q&A session coming up in the future. I want you to log into my website and see the upcoming dates that will be announced in later episodes. Thank you for listening. This episode has been brought to you by Balanced Living for Busy Professionals podcast and Let's Talk with Cheryl's radio show on WESL Radio.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by Diane Randall Consults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.